Police dog that gets fired for being too friendly ends up with a strange new job.
Before we continue with the rest of the video, we could use your help. Click that like button to help spread the word about watchJojo, and also be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss our future videos.
For most people, dogs are furry little angels who can do no wrong. Buddy made a complete mess of his dinner. Good boy. Buddy chewed up the antique oriental rug that's been in our family for countless generations. Good boy. But in the working world, dogs are on a shorter leash. When one Australian pup struggled to make it into the police academy, officials were forced to make a tough call about the pup's future. Sadly, the charming German Shepherd was forced to do something drastic if he ever wanted to rejoin the workforce. Meet the adorable German Shepherd puppy and Australian resident Gavel. At just 6 weeks old, he caught the eyes of the Queensland police as they saw great potential in bright-eyed and bushy-tailed pup. They had big plans for him. Little Gavel was determined to be granted acceptance into the Queensland Dog Squad, as he wanted to follow in the footsteps of his family members. He had a 16-month training program ahead of him, and he was ready to track down some bad guys. Not only was Gavel hoping to make the force proud, he also wanted to make his foster handlers proud too. There were more than just a few pounds on this pup's shoulders, as Gavel had people counting on him. The officers were confident that he had the right stuff for the lawful job. He's confident with no nervous tendencies and shows willingness to retrieve, a prey drive, ball drive, and can be motivated by food for a reward. The impressed Queensland Sergeant Hanson gushed in a press release. By this point, it seemed that Gavel was going to be a star student. Before he started his training, though, he made a highly anticipated debut to the public in 2016. He accompanied Governor Paul de Jersey and his wife at a function dedicated to honoring the Queen's 90th birthday. It was a big day for little Gavel, as he met an aggregation of important human officials, such as politicians, judges, business and community leaders, as well as former governors. One of these bigwigs in particular took a liking to Gavel. Former Governor Mary Marguerite Leanin Ford couldn't keep her hands off the warm Gavel, which is no surprise considering she owned many German Shepherds as a Fernburg resident. However, Gavel's engagement with prestigious government officials was just getting started. Usually, puppers in training are fostered by a fellow Queensland police officer, but Gavel was a bit different. In an unusual turn of events, it was decided he would reside with Governor de Jersey and his wife at the government house. Governor de Jersey made sure to give Gavel a proper tour of his new illustrious home, as well as assist in familiarizing the shepherd with new people. Considering his boot camp training was to start soon, this is when a different side of Gavel emerged. Gavel proved to be a big old softy. He'd take resting breaks, play with toys, and stride through the flowers. Gavel got lost in his own downtime, which caused people to raise an eyebrow and wonder how he'd perform on the squad. The official training began with months' worth of socialization and obedience practice. As expected, this was not an easy task for the playful shepherd. At 10 weeks old, Gavel still had heaps of uncontrollable puppy energy, which was slightly concerning for a police recruit. Governor de Jersey disclosed to 7 News Brisbane that at this point Gavel was still not sleeping through the entirety of the night. Still, no one was ready to give up on Gavel, as they figured his maturity milestone was waiting just around the corner. As the months went by, the maturity milestone seemed further and further away. Gavel never rounded that monumental bend. It was a tough decision, but the Queensland police reluctantly decided to cut innocent Gavel from their program. In a statement released by the Queensland police, they declared that Gavel did not display the necessary aptitude for a life on the front line. It was a shock to everyone who fell in love with the pooch, but fighting crime just wasn't in the cards for him. In February 2017, the Queensland police officially discharged Gavel from his training, with graduation just 6 months away. Subsequently, the question that haunted nearly everyone down under was, what would become of Gavel? All things considered, he was still staying with the governor of Queensland, which allowed Gavel to live regally. Could it be that he was paired with the governor Paul de Jersey for a reason? Apparently, Gavel's true calling was closer than he thought. On February 21, 2017, Gavel bestowed a new title, Australia's first ever vice-regal dog. The Regal family knew he was destined for a more sociable and compassionate position, one that didn't involve sniffing out the bad guys. He's outgrown 4 ceremonial coats, undergone a career change, and brought untold joy to the lives of the governor, Mrs. de Jersey, government house staff, and the thousands of Queenslanders who have since visited the estate. The governor's office raved. To be clear, as a VRD, Gavel still had some important daily duties to conquer, like being a gracious host to guests and entertaining or playing with tour groups that attended the government house. He wears a specially made government house coat, emblazoned with the governor's personal standard, the St. Edward's crown, and the brolja, the official bird emblem of Queensland, the government house disclosed. In case you're doubting the legitimacy of Gavel's role in Australia's government house, he even had to sign a contract. It's still a legal process after all. The Regal mongrel adores the outdoors, and sometimes he'll even help the government house's horticulture team with their grueling yard work. Though his version of help generally consists of emotional support, the horticultural team deeply appreciates his assistance. Gavel took a shot in the dark at one career and wound up excelling in an entirely different one. After unexpected failure, Gavel embarked on a new path, which is more common than you might think among working-class dogs. All over the world, dogs and their keen senses of smell have become major tools in the field of law enforcement. These detection dogs are trained to recognize and seek out all manner of potentially dangerous contraband, illegal drugs, weapons, and even people. But even with all the necessary skills, not every dog is cut out for a job like this. Being a detection dog takes patience and self-control. In a way, these pooches have to behave more like humans than animals. For Train, a Chesapeake Bay Retriever rescue, trading in a life of abuse for one as a drug detection dog seemed like a perfect fit. But Train struggled to find his place at the training academy. He was far more interested in being a dog than a police canine. He failed out of narcotics school because he was too energetic, said Train's owner, Karen DiMatteo. He was like a bull in a china closet. But Train still had one heck of a nose on him, and that DiMatteo wasn't ready to see go to waste. At the time, DiMatteo, a conservation biologist, was looking to gather a team of dogs for a research project in the Argentine province of Misiones. With a sniffer like Train's on her side, she surely would find what she was looking for. Scat, also known as poop. It actually plays a major role in the work of conservation biologists. Using droppings, researchers can gather valuable information about an animal, including their species, sex, and living environment. Everybody leaves poop behind in the forest, said DiMatteo. You can figure out which habitats they like and which habitats they avoid. More specifically, DiMatteo and her team were looking to pinpoint the habitats of endangered animals such as jaguars and oncillas. However, this task is not an easy one if you can't track down these creatures in the first place. That's where Train came in. DiMatteo hoped that the former drug dog in training would use his highly sensitive nose to pick up scat scents and lead them to the elusive animals. And as soon as the team released Train onto the trail, they got their answer. Though the dog's excitability had hampered him at the academy, Train proved that he was more than capable of excelling at his new job. Not only was he quick to pick up the scents of the animals, but his high energy helped them collect results at breakneck speeds. The group spent the next year tracking animals through the Argentine wilderness. Train always happily bounding along at the head of the pack. By the time this first collection effort had wrapped, Train, as an incredible nose, had covered over 600 miles of forest. Train was just a machine, DiMatteo recalled, of the dog's first year of sniffing scat. We just switched him to use all that energy and search really big areas and find this poop for us. Using the data collected from the scat, DiMatteo and her team can pinpoint which forest areas should be prioritized in their conservation efforts. They can also determine if any of the animals are being affected by humans encroaching on their land. Everywhere people are expanding, said DiMatteo. We could try to figure out areas of potential overlap between humans and wildlife. We can identify areas that need more work, areas that have great corridors, and areas that are kind of lost to the cause. In the past, conservationists like DiMatteo would employ cameras and sensors to photograph and track animals. However, this method proved inefficient, as the creatures needed to actually pass in front of the cameras for researchers to document them. These cameras also proved to be a huge deterrent for the Argentine farmers on whose land some of the animals lived. Many of these landowners were hesitant to allow camera traps on their property, fearing that their privacy and livelihood were at risk. But with Train and a border collie named April, the farmers were much more receptive to allowing DiMatteo and her team onto their land. After all, who wouldn't want to watch two adorable pups frolic and play? "They're afraid you're going to take their land or do something funny," said DiMatteo. "And we explain that we just want to look for poop and find out where animals are moving." And they're like, "Oh, cool. Can I come?" Even though Train just celebrated his 12th birthday, he and his one-of-a-kind nose show no signs in slowing down. Next, it's off to Nebraska for DiMatteo and her dog, where their team will be tracking mountain lions.